Coming up on Texas Home Improvement, Jim and Adam work on putting the finishing touches on the inside of the house.
Adam got a non-prehung door, which means we're going to have to build the casing. And so Adam's going to go through the process of forming it up, putting in the reinforcement, getting it ready.
Smile. You woke up in Texas.
I'm Jim Dutton, and I've been a contractor here in the great state of Texas for over 40 years.
It ain't a good day till we tear something up. Tools make the job.
To help as many people as I possibly could, I started a radio show over 20 years ago. Now to help even more people, I'm rolling up my sleeves and hitting the road.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Oh, look how beautiful it is.
In Texas, most contractors don't have to have a license, so it's buyer beware.
And that's what you get when you hire a bootleg contractor.
You don't know what you're talking about. I've been building homes for over...
Yeah, and I've been fixing homes for over 40 years because of people like you. It doesn't work in Texas. This is Texas Home Improvement.
Previously on Texas Home Improvement.
All right, it was good to get everything cleaned up at Adam's house so we could really get back to work. Now it's time to get the hearth built so we can get this fireplace finished and the rest of the floors put in. All right, we got our first few pieces laid, got the holes filled, troweled them off, so that gives us a nice working top then for mounting whatever we want to put on there. We actually have a blank door that we'll have to build the casement for, drill the holes for the handles, put on the hinges and everything, and set that door into place.
So now all we have left is we got to do the backsplash in the kitchen, hang the vent hood. We got the door to put into the kitchen between the kitchen and the mudroom. And then this kitchen will be ready.
All right, so we're getting ready to put in the door that goes from the kitchen into the mudroom into the laundry room. Well, Adam got a non-prehung door, which means we're going to have to build the casing. So we went ahead and got some regular door frame material to build the casing out of. And then we got the strip to put for the stopper and everything. You know, a lot of people think, well, why would you buy a door that's not pre-hung? Well, there's a lot of reasons. And the biggest one, it doesn't come pre-hung. It's not an option. So in some cases, you just plain have to go through the process of installing it yourself, which means you've got to cut out for the hinges, you got to cut out for doorknobs, and your hinges have to line up with your casing. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is we're building a casing, and we haven't nailed anything together. We just got our boards cut and ready to go. We've got our door, and I've made little tick marks as far as where the hinges are going to go. And we're going to use a router. Now, Adam, you want to go ahead and place this is going to be a router guide. And basically what we'll do is where you see the little tick mark on the end, we'll line it up with that, clamp it into place, and we'll be able to just drop the router in there and take all the wood out we need for the hinge. On the side over here, these are depth gauges to set for your different size hinges. We're just using a standard 4-inch hinge. When the hinge is installed, there's what you're going to be looking at. So we're going to go ahead and get the router ready, and I'm going to let Adam router it out. All right, we've set it where the hinges will be at 7, 36, and 65 inches top of each hinge. All right, Adam, go ahead. Now you can do this same thing using hammer and chisel, but as we always talk about, tools make the job, and the tools sure made this job easy. Our hinge is squared. A router uses a round bit, so our corners are still rounded a little bit. So even though we've got the bulk of it done, we're still going to use the hammer and chisel to square it up and finalize everything. And it really is that simple. It doesn't take a whole lot to finish it off. Now the whole trick is going to be lining up the holes on the door jamb. Okay, we got them routed out. We're going to clean up the edges a little bit and the rounded corners with the chisel now, and that'll get our final lines set. All right, like I said to Adam a second ago, you don't have to necessarily do everything with the chisel to clean up these edges. I like using a box cutter because I can just follow the line, have a nice straight line, and then the stuff will just peel right off. Now I'll still use the chisel to take the corner pieces out, but my lines are already defined better with the box cutter than they are with the chisel. All right, so what we did is we went ahead and put the screws in and attached the hinge side to the door. That side is just sitting on there. We've got this propped up with a 1x6 underneath it to match this side. We'll go ahead and put the rest of the casing on. Then we're going to be able to install this just like a regular pre-hung door, and that'll make it a whole lot easier to square everything up. But it all begins by getting those measurements right for the hinges. That's the whole key thing to this. All right, we went ahead and finished putting the casing in, got the top nailed into place. I went ahead and put a brace bar across the bottom here. That's going to do two things. One, it keeps the door from being able to swing in. Two, it keeps my spacing right. And then I stuck one brad into the door itself, so it holds everything square. Now, this is a heavy door, so I'm hoping that that one brad's enough to hold it in place the whole time. I think it should be, but this board only has one on each side as well. So when it comes time to take it off, it's quick and easy to just knock it off and pull the brad through the board, and that really won't leave any true damage. And then we're going to have a cover along here anyways. Our door stop still has to be installed, so that covers up things like that as well. So it's time to tip the door up and get it ready. Okay, we're putting in the trim around it now, so when we tip the door into place, that locks it in. Makes it easy to stop it right where it needs to be, because it is the stop. And we're crowding it in around the door as tight as we can, because on our opening we don't have a lot of room for the trim because it's such a tight corner. So 1/8 of an inch can make a difference. Okay, all right, so on the inside here, all we're going to do is actually bring the tile all the way to here. We'll use a metal stripping that goes around to finish it off rather than putting wood trim around it. The other side, you can see we've already got our trim up against. We'll finish nailing everything into place, but the key thing is we got our top squared off. That's the key part, because this side can come in and out to adjust the gap. So this door is ready to go. All right, we're gonna go ahead and Adam's gonna go ahead and nail the last piece of trim in there. Now we've already put the shims around the door, put the door stop around the door. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put the hardware on the door. In particular, we're gonna put the door handle on and then into the wall for striker plate. So the hard part is always lining everything up. And yeah, the instructions come with a nice folded template, and I've used that for years. We're gonna try something new though. This is just a little jig that you can attach to the door, lines everything up, and then it's got hole saws that literally go through the holes to drill it into place, and you should have a great alignment that way. Hopefully this will be nice and simple to do. We're about to find out. All right, we're gonna go ahead and mark for 36 inches up, which will get us right in the middle of the trim board here as well. Now the little jig has an arrow in it, little hole. You can just line all this stuff with your 36-inch mark. Oh, look at that, it lines up perfect. Now, you may notice the middles are a little bit deeper. This has a inset. This is quite a bit thicker than this plate that's out on the edges. There you go. One non-prehung door installed. Today we're going to get started on the Fireplace Hearth. What Adam and Valerie decided to do is they're going to use a concrete, like a concrete countertop. And so Adam's going to go through the process of forming it up, putting in the reinforcement, getting it ready, and then I'll come back and help him when it's time to actually pour the concrete and do the finishing on it. I'll let him do all the hard stuff, and I'll come back when the easy stuff starts. We'll be back.
Now the cool thing with what you can do with concrete countertops is they come with pre-made forms. Now this is something that I can just put on the edge. That'll hold all the concrete in place, gives us a nice top to level off of. And in this one's case, it comes with the front part, which obviously makes the front edge. And then it has a back edge as well. So then we can have those two tops level and gives you a nice level plane that you're working with. Once everything's done, this side stays in place and you actually peel this off, and there's a break point on here as well. So then you don't see any of the forms left in place after the fact. There we go. That gives me a nice radius to work with. Now, from here I'm gonna work on getting the other pieces in place, and then I'll actually end up putting more screws along here, but I wanna make sure everything fits together good before I really lock something into place. Okay, the next step is we're actually going to use one of these form pieces, a couple of these form pieces. And what this does is I'm gonna line these forms, and this gives the concrete a form to make it look more like a rock edge, not necessarily a smooth concrete finish, just to kind of decorate it up some. Now I'm going to start working on actually rolling out my mesh reinforcement that's going to go in it. Now the cool thing with this mesh is this is actually like a poly or a nylon mesh. It's not steel. And most people just think, oh, you always put steel in concrete. You can use all kinds of different reinforcements. The real advantage of this is the steel, whenever you put it in concrete, you actually want it to be embedded so far into the concrete. Most engineers will call for 2 to 3 inches worth of embedment, and that prevents moisture from being able to get to that steel reinforcement. Now, if this was to be an outdoor application, like a outdoor kitchen type countertop, this countertop is only about 1.5 inches thick. So you're definitely not going to have that embedment cover on top of it. And there's potential for that moisture to eventually get to that steel, rust. It'll actually, you will see it through the countertop eventually. Might not be right away, but years down the road. Okay, for this part, Valerie's actually going to help me. She helped me with the other side too. And it's just nice to have somebody helping me transition between the different drills, screw versus drilling, and have the screws set up ready to go. So the other drill's right behind you, Valerie.
Okay.
The blue screws. And I'll drill, and then you hand me that drill to screw it in. There we go. Got all the mesh reinforcement cut out of the way. Now I'm gonna move a lot of these tools out of my way because next up is concrete.
All right, we're gonna start mixing the concrete now for the hearth. And basically we've got 4 bags, and we're gonna go ahead and mix 4 buckets so we can dump it in all at once. The material is specific. You can't use a mixer, even though we have one. So we'll be using paddle mixers to mix everything up and get it ready to go in. And what we're doing is putting in the starting amount of water. Then we'll have some other buckets that we have water ready to add as needed so we can get everything mixed quickly. So the problem we discovered was when we tried to use this big drill to mix the buckets, it was too strong. So we start with the smaller one. When it gets too heavy for the small one, we just switch over to the big one. All right, we know we're not gonna need 4 buckets to finish it, but we're gonna make 4 buckets because we know we're gonna need probably 3.5 or so. And we don't wanna run out once we start putting it in. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start putting the buckets in. I'll let Adam do all the heavy work. Now you're gonna notice the mesh is dropping to the bottom. So as we're working on it, we actually reach in and pull it up a little bit, trying to get it more centered into the concrete. All right, we're gonna use our mag trowel to start moving the material around and getting it into place. Then we'll pick up that reinforcing a little bit more. Okay, so you might be wondering why a mag trowel instead of just using the steel finish trowel. The steel gives it the nice slick finish, but what the mag does is pulls kind of the cream to the top, so it's easier to get that slicker finish. All right, it's been about 3 hours since we put the concrete in. It's really still just a hair bit wet for doing the steel trowel, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the steel trowel on it now because I need to go do 1 hour of radio, and then I'll come back and do it some more. But it's starting to set up. You can see it's still kind of wet, but like over in this area here, it's getting dry enough that we can start on it. All right, so it's been hour and 15 minutes since we troweled it last. And even though it's not set up all the way yet, we're at a good spot to start getting our finishes on it. One thing you have to remember when you're doing concrete is whatever you leave as a ridge or a low spot or anything like that, it's there forever. You will not take it out later. All right, so this concrete's been in a little over 5 hours now, and we're finally ready to start putting a final steel trowel on it. Now the difference between what the meg trowel does and the smooth steel trowel does is how smooth it gets. And we also have some liquid that you can get to help glide along the surface. We're gonna start without the liquid and then see how that goes first. All right, so we're ready to go ahead and put another steel finish, but now I'm gonna go ahead and put this liquid on so that the trowel will glide across it easier. So at this point, we've already got it all nice and smooth. All we're doing is rubbing more of a solid glass finish on it than anything. Now, the thing with anything you do with concrete you really don't get to see the final colors and finish and everything until the next day when it starts to set up, and then you still won't see the final color because concrete will tend to lighten for a couple weeks, if not months, once it's done. So if you get a new driveway or something and you think it's too dark, I don't like it, it's gonna lighten up. So you may wonder why I kept giving you the times when I was working on this. From the time we poured the concrete until now, it's 6 hours. The point is, you can't be in a rush. You've got to let it sit, and you've got to have the time to do that. So if you're thinking about doing a project and you want to squeeze it into an hour or two, concrete's probably not the job for you. Hey, got a question during the week? Go to our website, thipro.com, and click on the Ask Jim button. If you're looking for a great contractor, one that'll treat you fair and get the job done right, go to thipro.com and take a look at the contractors in your area that I've already checked out. Hey, got a question about your project? Join me on News Talk 820 WVAP every Saturday at 12 o'clock. You can call in, ask your question, and get your project going.
Don't forget to listen to Texas Home Improvement every Saturday right here in Austin on News Talk 1370 AM KJCE.
Don't forget to listen to Texas Home Improvement every Saturday and Sunday right here in Houston on News Talk 740 KTRH. Give it up. Oh, it's on my foot. Here. Hi, I'm Tim Allen. This is my assistant, Al. Al's going to show you how to router out these holes for the hinges. What you laughing at, Al?
Valerie, don't think I'm a crazy person when I'm talking to myself. I got the mic on, so I'm supposed to talk about things. Yeah, I'm still a crazy person sitting here talking to myself.
I was slurring like a drunk sailor anyways. No, I just want to... So you typically never see me with a shirt untucked. I knew I was going to be bending over a lot doing this, and I wasn't going to show my plumber's crack.